Please forgive my lateness. I just stepped out of the HRD meeting to join, and thank you to everybody for your attendance. Let's just have a quick look. We've got 19 in the room currently, and I'm looking down the list. Lovely to see everybody present, and thank you very much for your attendance. I think we can get stuck in. And then see as to how we go with people joining. Look, let's you can just keep that up, please. That first one. I just wanted to reference this quickly. Sorry, Yanis, or I can do so on my side. We termed this one, this particular session as pushing for promotion, the power of the personal portfolio. Forgive me, colleagues, very cheesy with my pushing for alliteration here, or using alliteration so liberally, but and also to attract people onto this particular engagement. We said pushing for promotion. It's about pushing for personal development, is it not, in terms of developing our teaching portfolio? So I wanted to speak to that specifically. Remember that this is three. We've got our sessions of these faculty developments is in 9 threes, around the, well, let me say 4, beg your pardon. The first 3 relate to a particular theme, and that is the Health Professionals Education Journal Club, the Tech Tuesday, and the Learning Workshop. And we've got 3, and I see the likes of, for example, Stuart's on the call. I think I saw you, sir, and we're looking forward to engaging around your theme of OSCEs later in the year, and we'll do 3 around that and engage with perhaps others with you on those 3 themes. That theme for those 3 sessions. We're an excellent session with Carol and Mantra, or theme, should I say, earlier around the engage that they provided around student-centered learning or curriculum design. So we're moving forward in that way. But the 4th session, guys, is this. We've chosen to sort of focus on the teaching portfolio and trying to develop that. Now, this is all work in progress. So again, I must say that any suggestions as to how we populate this 4th session, just like the theme and the first 3, then please, we're all ears, and let's get in the mix and hear you, because most certainly we're working this out a little bit as we're going along, not least around this teaching portfolio and learning in that context. Why? Because much is changing, and so delighted to have Shira on the call as usual today, because please, Shira, do give some inputs as you see fit. I mean, all these sessions are around a partnership between the DFMPC professional learning with the CHSE for the expertise and experience in that context. So I'm delighted to have you on the call, Shira. Thank you. So what we thought we'd do today is I'm going to kick off with just some reflections on what's been happening within the HRD context lately around a couple of things. One is the S&P criteria, and the second is the CV that you have to submit around appointment and promotions in the faculty. And I just wanted to reflect on a couple of the specific changes that us as HRDs in the school have been engaging on. And this is also to share these documents so that you can, the CV is given, but the S&P criteria are not yet clarified, or not yet signed off, as it were. And so I just wanted to give you a sense as to what we've been engaging on around that. But to start off with, what I thought I'd do is just share with you some of those 2 documents. But specifically, I wanted to start off with, and if you'll allow me to just share this with you. In fact, let me just do it with the where we Let me just see if I can do the screen. Sorry, forgive me. And then I'll be showing my dirty laundry if I get here. You see, now I'm doing whatever comes up on my screen, dear colleagues. But here, this is a site that I wanted to just share with you that we've been engaging in a little bit. And just, this is the Vanderbilt Center for Teaching page, and that speaks to teaching portfolios specifically. Oh, no, wait. Can you see that? Sorry.
Not yet.
No.
Okay. Sorry, it's just saying, where is it now? Let me have a look. I took too long to do that. Sharing content, and let's do that. Does that come up?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I found this useful. Don't see me as any expert in this regard, please, colleagues, because I don't want to attempt to be something that I'm not. Because I personally have a very have a good e-portfolio, online e-portfolio, and really also we want to engage specifically around trying to develop that in today's session. But the teaching portfolio per se, I'm also learning in this regard, and we can all grow and learn together. So this is a site, the Vanderbilt Center for Teaching, and they speak to the teaching portfolios on this. And I wanted to reflect on a couple of things, and that is just as a start, in that what is a teaching portfolio, but they're guidelines. And I was interested in this, in that they do put out a specific couple of guidelines that I wanted to reflect upon today. Well, firstly, let's get on with it. Let's start now, because you don't want to be doing this on all at once around a promotion or around an opportunity that it presents. Give a fair and accurate presentation of yourself, so that you don't try to present yourself as the absolutely perfect teacher. Highlight the positive, of course, but don't completely omit the negative. When I read this, I was reflecting on the fact that a good teacher does self-reflect and does look at where are the areas for their own improvement, their gaps, some of the challenges that they've experienced. And I'm going to say a bit more about that in a moment. Be selective in which materials you choose to include. Cross-section of your teaching and not just one aspect. So just to go into depth around one aspect as opposed to providing a representation, a cross-section of your teaching is appropriate. Make your organization explicit to the reader, but I do want to speak to both the portfolio, and we can speak to the CV and the S&P criteria around that as well. And then make sure that every piece of evidence in your portfolio is accompanied by some sort of context and explanation in that regard. Again, we're going to talk about that. So then I wanted to speak to, what is the teaching portfolio and why do so. Here we go, and the why assembling a teaching portfolio. What was interesting about Vanderbilt's here is that the first two here are sort of are about about promotion and also job applications, and the second two are more the what we might tell people in an interview, in that we're wanting to be better and grow our own and to reflect and refine on your own teaching skills and philosophies. Interesting that they put up front these two in terms of promotion A and job applicants B. Now let's be clear that ultimately any job that we do, the best jobs are those in which we can all support each other to go somewhere else. Not so for the great skills and competencies that we've gained in the current job. And I think that's important. I mean, certainly the DFMPC, we should be seeing it as, my own department, we should be seeing it as that let's be as good as we can be so we can go and work somewhere else. And then hopefully we have a good time doing it while we're here. And secondly, then the promotion and being up for S&P appropriately. And then of course one's wanting to just be better. And I think that's why we want to be putting a teaching portfolio together. So then in that, let me see now if I can share with you, and the S&P criteria. And just to reflect on a couple of comments around how that's changed in the recently in terms of what we're doing. Now I've caught myself unawares because I've got so many things open, but I did want to just do that. Let me see. I'm going to go again with the risky option. No, sorry, colleagues. Let me come back to this. I'm going to come back to the risky option of showing you my screen. Now you see my calendar, I think. And sorry guys, I'll be with you in a second. There it was. Okay, finally. So here, let me get rid of that. Can you see this, colleagues?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to reflect on this. Now, this is the S&P criteria. Now, this is not sort of published yet or agreed on, but I just wanted to reflect on a couple of inputs from the HODs and the different tracks. So you'll see here that they've got the appointment and they've got the promotion. And they've got a lecturer track, a research track, and a clinical track. Okay. Now, the clinical track is limited to there are a number of them, to the joint appointees. And really, my first point is that I want to say with regards to that clinical track, it's about standing in the profession. That is the real focus. What you find is that, and just to use an example, sorry, it's not going to be very big. Let me see if I can do that. That might be. Giannis, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so if you have a look at this, I mean, I think colleagues are aware that there is across these two are easy, the first on the left, academic qualifications and professional qualifications. But then this teaching experience, research experience, and service record is where we now there's been not so much changes per se in these categories, but certainly in terms of the proposed changes within them. And specifically to give this one in the middle, the teaching experience track, a bit more weight and a bit more of an opportunity for somebody to shine in this area. Please do put up your hand, and Shira in particular, if you wanted to say anything around this in terms of this teaching experience, because I don't think I can see hands. So for example, they've starting to add bits and pieces. So have a look here. Successful completion of the postgraduate CHE, the postgraduate diploma is that the certificate there in higher education will be an advantage. So they're adding that to the teaching experience here. And then you see the red coming up. And they really, I'm picking up really 4 specific areas that I wanted to reflect on in terms of the teaching experience. The first is that they're wanting to speak to and certainly in each of the tracks, the personal approach to teaching and learning. So when they're talking about a teaching philosophy, which Giannis will say a little bit later on, is speaking to your personal approach to teaching and learning, your strategies for struggling students, dealing with struggling students, your use of technology, these sorts of things that speak to your teaching philosophy. Secondly, that your evidence of the quality of your teaching. And I picked up there that really it's looking to be quite broad now and quite innovative as to how we pick up on the quality of the teaching. So the tried and tested, but slightly challenging from a logistics point of view of getting of having the students doing an assessment, doing a review of your own teaching, now appears to be a little bit more broader in terms of what evidence we can provide. Thirdly, the postgraduate supervision of students, postgraduate research, that is you get people ticking off. You see here and then of course your qualifications around teaching, around the postgraduate CHE, for example. So you see here under this particular track, which is the lecturer track, they've got, there's the postgraduate qualification, evidence of the teaching, minimum expectation around postgraduate supervision. Okay? The associate professor, again, we've got more in there. But here, the difference between associate professor and the lecturer track is that, you see how the senior lecturer here is 8 accredited publications. The associate professor is 20 accredited publications. So there's some similarity between that, but there is now moving towards this philosophy. So you see there, still on the 1, 2, 3, 4th column, the quality of your postgraduate supervision, and then the teaching, and then they're starting to, and then putting in the numbers of postgraduate students that you've supervised to completion. When they start getting up to the professorial level, then looking at curriculum development, academic administration, again, though, the quality and the successful supervision, evidence of the quality of teaching. So there's quite a lot of changes, but it is to note that a lot of the HOD comments have been around the importance of recognizing the teaching track, or the teaching commitment, the training commitment and competence of our staff. And what happens is that basically, as a number of you might well know from these, is that if we have a look at it as an example, where is a good one? Here we go. That you get that the candidate should be rated either as a distinguished in respect of one of the 3 criteria: teaching experience, research, and service record, more than competent in another, or competent in the 3rd. So one of them must be distinguished, the other more than competent, and the other competent, or more than competent in all 3 of those 3 areas. So that then is a way in which one can. I think I must just get permission to share it, but I think I'm certainly can now. The CV, which I'm going to show you now, is out and given and signed off. And this S&P criteria will be shortly for those inputs as I've described. And this is the CV now that you have to complete, colleagues, when looking for promotion. So let's have a quick look at this. So look here, you see how you got to, there's the personal reflective statement. This was expected of you by HR anyway, to be frank, before this new CV was put in place. But they've just made it a bit more structured and a bit more template-like, if I may put it that way, so that we tick the relevant boxes. There's the personal reflective statement summarizing your educational philosophy and how it informs your pedagogy, assessment, curriculum development, etc., mentoring and support. Then your undergraduate teaching per year. Now have a look at this. There's a lot more detail in here than there has been before. I'm so pleased to see this because it really just gives everybody the opportunity to really put in as much of their quality as possible. Because a lot of the staff in the faculty, I mean, not least in our own department, really are probably a lot better than they think they are to start with, and do different things and engage in different things, both in the teaching, service, all sorts of things where they can go in the CV. Undergraduate teaching contact time, postgraduate coursework. There's quite a lot of detail. Personal supervision of postgraduate diploma courses, the postgraduate master's, doctoral, clinical training, external examining at undergraduate level, external examining of dissertations and theses, other adult education courses where people are involved. You see how they're just trying to really capture what it is that people are doing in terms of teaching and learning, curriculum, development change, and then the research. Now, I picked up here that now look here, the numbers of first authors, senior authors, other authors, they've got a little bit more detail in there, and then some of the citation index to speak to the Google Scholar profile, etc., H index. I'm just trying to pick up on the quality of the research as well as the number of items, number of articles or number of publications, chapters and books, etc. International journals, local journals. It's quite a lot more detail. Chapters and books, peer-reviewed conference outputs. And somewhere in here I saw that you are, for example, where is it? Technical reports. If you are, there's the only a full professor. Here's the scholarly presentations, number of conferences attended in the last 5 years. But where is the one that, people can be reviewers for articles? I think that's a bit further on. Research grant funding. How much have you been involved in research grants? Where is that? I missed it perhaps. But if you have been a reviewer for a journal, and which is a great way of learning. The head of school has pushed this before as well. You've pushed learning in your capacity as if you've reviewed articles, that's a great way to learn and grow. Then comes the faculty leadership, university, and academic citizenship. This is they double down on this a little bit in the clinical track and the adjunct professor route, for example, and even a reflective statement on your approach and contributions to leadership and management. You note that. I hadn't seen this before. I think that's nice to be able to put down, for those of us who are, properly involved in social responsiveness, academic citizenship. Departmental duties, faculty committees, university committees. It looks quite onerous and quite sort of almost intimidating, but I don't think that we should take it as that. We must take it as just an opportunity to put down everything that we're involved in as individuals. Okay. Social responsiveness. See, here we go. Here's the professional services, editorial boards, journal reviewer, community outreach, policy input and advocacy. I'm going to think about some of the clinical associate team, for example, who are involved in advocacy and policy input in the new discipline of clinical associates. Honors awards, prizes, noteworthy recognitions, clinical academic practice, what one's involved in. And then this lastly is the annexure, where it just provides, you can put down a whole lot of things around your own, just a good list rather than making your own section in the CV. Good. So let me pause there, and I'm going to hand over to Janus to give his own reflections and experience. So I don't know if there are any questions, or let's take, perhaps otherwise we can take Janus and then we can give inputs. Again, just to note from my side that I'm learning as I go here. I've been asked to give inputs to these documents over the last few weeks. So it's very sort of a pertinent and current topic of trying to get all of us as colleagues just the opportunity for promotion, development, and growth. Well, development to growth, and then promotion to promotion from it, for especially for teaching and learning, becoming that much more, well, just on an equal playing field. Let's not say more. Let's just say on an equal playing field with research, for the opportunity to for promotion. Okay, good. So let me pause there. Janus, let me hand over to you, sir.
Thanks, Bryce. Okay, right. So for the next part of the session, I'm going to take you through developing your e-portfolio or teaching portfolio. I'm not going to do the teaching philosophy as Richard stated, as I'm leaving that to Shira for the next session. So as Richard mentioned, we are going to have these sessions every 3 sessions and then one, and then in that we'll have like 15 minutes where we give you an overview of something and like the teaching philosophy, and then the rest of the time will be used for you to structure and work on your teaching philosophy or different components of the e-portfolio. And those will all be led by Shira from now on. Okay, let me just share my screen with you. Okay. So on the Facilitating Online course, we make use of Google Sites, and that's what I'm going to show to you today. As some of you that have done that course probably already have started with your e-portfolio. But I'm also going to show you a portfolio system, which I found quite useful, and you could choose whichever one you want. There's also more than, there's also other systems that you can use. You can use OneNote from Microsoft, or even a SharePoint site on Microsoft Office to create your portfolio. So Microsoft SharePoint and Google Sites is very similar. And you can easily embed documents from there onto your portfolio. So let me just quickly show you what my e-portfolio looks like. The one thing it's not complete. Something about an e-portfolio is that if you don't regularly work on it, you first of all forget about all the projects that you've worked on, and it gets very time consuming to reflect on what you've done and how you've done it, and adding all the projects. So I've used Google Sites. I started this portfolio a few years back and sort of gave up on it, which I'm now, that's part of the reason why we sort of have these sessions, is that we have a dedicated time to work on it. But as you can see, there's my teaching philosophy, which Shira will speak to the next time, my CV. In my case, I also, because I'm in blended learning and instructional design, I've included all the software that I've worked in my education, and I've hyperlinked all my transcript and everything. So as Prof. Cook mentioned, that you can use your portfolio for performance management or for applying for a new position. So one of the things that I do is in my cover letter, I give people access to my portfolio with all the documentation and so forth. The other component is that you can apply for fellowships with the Higher Education Academy or the Association for Learning Technologies and so forth, which you also need to submit a portfolio. So yeah, just additional courses that I've worked on, and then there should actually be a reflection under each artifact, because one of the important components, like what Prof. Cook mentioned from the criteria from Vanderbilt, I think, is to provide context. So as you can see, I created different sessions. So the professional learning, where I've acted as a facilitator, and then curriculum development and learning technology projects. So the other software, and this is where I'm going to build my portfolio, is Portfolio. It's free to use. It is a Canvas product, so it actually would link in with Ulwazi, and it looks very much like a LinkedIn profile. And what Canvas did is they created this portfolio so that you can share it easily with employers. And what I really like about this portfolio is that, let's say, for example, you edit your education, or actually education is at the bottom. So, okay. So for example, my honors, you can attach your documentation here, and you can add a description and reflect on it, and state your what you got for the degree and so forth. And you can do that for literally everything that you upload. So the second component to that is that you can create So you can connect your LinkedIn profile, and then it just drags in all the information, and or upload your CV, and it populates everything for you automatically. You can also add skills and tag specific skills that you developed on specific projects. So, for example, you can add the projects that you worked on, like professional learning or the Wits website, and so forth. And then as soon as you open that up, you can upload files, add links, give a description about the project, and then reflect. And yeah, on the side, you can see it says showcase artifacts and work samples from your projects, upload files, import them. And then it sort of gives in the description, it sort of gives you guiding questions as well. What inspired you? What did you learn? Did you encounter any challenges? What were the results? And the whole reason why they created this portfolio is for students after they graduate to share it with employers to showcase what they've developed. So I think this is quite a good portfolio to use, and I'm going to transfer everything over to you. But I'm going to show you, I'll show you how to use Google Sites. So just before I move on to Google Sites, you can easily create your portfolio with Portfolio by just signing up using your WITS A00671 at wits.ac.za through Gmail. And create the portfolio. You can also create the portfolio using your normal Gmail account if you don't want to link it. And the other nice thing that I do like about this portfolio is that you can print it as a PDF to submit. So they save as a PDF. So you can submit your entire portfolio as a PDF. Before I continue to show you how to use Google Sites, are there any questions about this? Okay, so in terms of using Google Sites, the nice thing about Google Sites is that, you just go to Drive. So once you logged in, and you can say New, More, and then go to Google Sites. So I think while I'm busy, just follow and create your own portfolio as you go along, because the whole idea with this session is to create your portfolio. So once you logged into Google Drive, you can yet again use your your own Gmail account, or you can use your WITS Gmail account. What you can also do, so let's say, for example, you use your own Gmail account. Is that you can share it to your, so you can share it to your normal, to your personal Gmail account, and then it's accessible via both. So once I access my Google Drive on my personal account, then I can access this as well. So you can then have access to it in any account. And then when, for example, you do get a promotion and leave the university, you can take the portfolio with you. So you can, choose between Portfolio or Google Sites. The one thing about Google Sites as well is that it's a very intuitive profile, and there's a bit more artistic expression in this, because you can literally make it, if you look at that, you can add in photos and make it a bit more unique. Sorry, I've got this presenting thing in the way now. There we go. So let's add a title. So I'll call it yet again my teaching portfolio. And you can change the image if you want. You can either upload an image that you designed, or you can just select an image in your Google Drive or in here. So I will take, let's take that one. That looks nice. Select. Okay. So the first space would be to add a photo and a bit about yourself. So you can upload a photo and add that to yourself. And then we call this About Me. So as you saw, I just literally from the right-hand side, you have got a menu with insert, pages, and themes. So you can select the type of theme if you want something more formal. So as you can see, there's that style. Or that, okay, I quite like. I'll try that one. And the pages is where you'll add additional pages. So you'll have the home pages where you have the About Me and maybe your CV and qualifications and whatever you want to add on this portfolio. And then you can create the additional sections. So if I quickly think about what Richard spoke about, you would have, okay, curriculum development, undergraduate teaching, and one for undergraduate teaching. And one for postgraduate teaching. And you can easily drag and drop it into the order that you want. So I just, and you can also make sub pages, as you can see. I don't want that as a, okay. So if you click on the right hand side, you can duplicate a page, properties, add sub page, hide it from the navigation. So I think I do have some additional pages on this portfolio, which is hidden. Oh yeah. So as you can see, I've started creating lots of one on ethics, networking, CMALT. So lots of different things, but I've hidden most of them as I haven't actually created all the content for those pages. Okay, so in the insert bar, you have the text box that you can drag and drop. You can also easily change the size and duplicate components, delete. You can change the coloring. If you want to, and then you can embed. So let's say, for example, I want to share this session as evidence of professional learning. I can upload it to YouTube and then just get the code and add it to this document. So then the YouTube video can play as evidence and then a reflection around that. Okay, so then you have the layouts. So you can drag and drop a set layout already, and you can upload anything here. So it could be a document, like in my case, with the About Me section, I uploaded my CV and teaching philosophy and everything as a document. And the only important thing is that you make the documents visible, because if I take the publish code, and this is another trick that you can just use. So if you take the view published site, if you want to see what it looks like for other people, just open a new incognito window, because you won't be logged into a incognito window, and then you can, okay, so sorry, it asked me to log in, so that's not the published sites. Just want to get the link, but if you don't make the documents visible to all, then it just shows a login bar, which one of these currently are doing. So every time you share a document, so I created an additional folder in my Google Drive called ePortfolio, my ePortfolio. So all the content that I want to upload onto the ePortfolio I have in here. And I create different sections. So the only thing that you have to do then is, let's take that one, for example. Then you just have to click on share, which is share there, and make it available to everyone. Done. Oh, did I copy the link? And then when you go back to your portfolio, you can then from Drive. So you can actually, from Drive, you can also link the document portfolio, and let's take that, insert, and then the document loads. However, if you don't individually go share each file, it won't or make it visible. As soon as you share the portfolio with anyone external from the university, it will literally just give you blocks of login, login, login. Okay, so different layouts. You can also use collapsible text. So if you want to create a collapsible section for the technology that you are familiar with, for teaching and learning, or whatever other section. There's the image carousel. So you can, for example, let's say you had a curriculum development workshop, and you want to post some images to, reflect on your experience. You can add the image carousel there. Okay, then as you can see, there's a YouTube link, so you can just post a link or search for the video. So let's say, for example, learning. Okay, so let's take that one, select, and okay, so there's a nice video, but now I want some text to that, so I can drag and drop the text box here, and learning my reflections, something. Okay. Yeah, then you can add maps, docs, slides, sheets, forms, charts, anything like that in the document. So as you can see, it's really quite straightforward to create the different sections, and you can be very creative. But I think it's up to you whether you would like to use Google Sites or whether you would like to use Portfolio. So I like the logical structure of Portfolio, and that it creates the automatic boxes for reflection and the different sections for project management, and it just looks a bit yeah, it looks like a LinkedIn page, whereas this is a bit more expressive and creative. And I think as the whole idea of a teaching portfolio is to reflect and explore about your own, your own learning and teaching, this could also be a very valuable site to use. Okay, I'm going to stop there and open it up for questions.
Janus, brilliant. Thank you. Anybody got some questions? I mean, I'm also wondering if we can't sort of structure this directly as the in the sections as per the CV, that template. What's your thoughts on that, Janus?
So I think that would definitely be the best approach, is to structure it according to the CV or to the requirements. And I think you'd definitely be able to do this a bit more easier than with Portfolio. Although I guess you would be able to place that under the projects. So if you create projects, for each of the sections, you should be able to do that as well. Yeah, add new project. So if you click on that, you could structure it according to the different sections and add the skills that you've developed in that and tag it as well.
Yes. Sure, who are you seeing some hands? Sure, help us. You've got 1 to 5 there. What's help us with that?
Yes, so I thought that we could develop a bit of a plan, but I'm very, very open to discussion about how we continue with the building of your portfolio. As both you and Janus indicated, every 4th session will be some time, not just talk time, but practical writing time, to add sections into your portfolio that you have hopefully started today along with Janus. And Janus has asked me to speak about developing a teaching philosophy in the very next time we talk about the portfolio. And after that, I thought we could work through ways of evaluating your teaching. We are having a faculty workshop on that in a couple of weeks, but could be interesting from your perspective in your specific work context to look at evaluations, and that might even take a couple of sessions. And then the third point is about selection for context, because if you build a portfolio like this, teaching portfolios, and in fact, professional portfolios, are supposed to be lifelong. So you just add everything, and that's why the tabs and the pages are so important, because you don't want to lose stuff. And people have these huge teaching portfolios over huge careers. But the point about the portfolio is it's the space where everything is. And when you want to apply for something like promotion or show your probation or a new job or an award or whatever it is, you select bits and pieces out of that portfolio. So what you can do is you can make a copy and then delete and move around. And if you want to give the link to your portfolio, you must still make it a contextual portfolio for whatever the opportunity is. Because I do have to tell you, from the other side, adjudicators and evaluators hate paging through 900 pages of lesson plans. when they're trying to see what it is somebody's done. They don't want to see everything. So you do have to structure quite carefully what it is that you show when you are applying for whatever it is. So selection for context. Fourthly, the idea that you did allude to, and Vanderbilt gives it as an idea, and we have it too. There's a strong push across the university for continuous professional learning as a teacher. And the portfolio is supposed to help you reflect on what your strengths and weaknesses are and lead to point 5, which is planning for expansion. How would you get involved in, for example, curriculum development if you aren't? Or if there's something that you'd like to do, for example, if there's a fellowship coming up and you would like to apply for a teaching fellowship, well, then plan what sort of changes you'd like to do in your teaching and write a section on that. So it gives you a space for looking at what you can do, looking what's worked, looking what hasn't worked, and developing where your strengths are, and not just having to do what everybody else is doing. So the portfolio can certainly be used to help you do that. So I thought over the next few weeks, these are the kinds of things that we could talk about. But as I said, I'm very open to discuss any aspect of it with anybody, depending on what your particular needs are.
To just help us with what that you say that there's a faculty workshop as well coming up. Is that a CHSE initiative as well? Is that something that colleagues want to link in with? Shira?
Yes, I'm sure that they would like to. It's actually a collaboration between CLTD and CHSE. As most of you are probably aware, all the other faculties have gone online now for their particularly student evaluations, and a few of our lecturers are able to do that because the LTD links a lecturer with a course and then a group of students, and they electronically send them an evaluation. But our faculty is different, particularly in the clinical space. And so CHSE has developed another system that clinical lecturers can apply for students to evaluate their teaching. And Rejoice and I are going to work together to bring that to the faculty so that people understand what it is when we speak about a clinical evaluation versus a student evaluation through their Blue Exploring system, and also about peer evaluations, because I think there's a misunderstanding that peer evaluations are about asking your head of department or your boss or whoever to come in and listen and then write a review, and that's not really what the peer evaluation is about. So we're going to address all of those things as a faculty-wide offering. I'm still waiting for a date from her, but we're looking at 2 or 3 weeks' time. So hopefully that will be in time for people to get their documentation together for the next meeting.
Very good, thank you. That's interesting, because really to situate oneself on the path and also understand the context of others on different paths is important. So yes, they're the clinical trainers, clinical staff, clinical context, but also very much they're not. So it's that sounds like a very interesting distinctions that you're going to be making in that workshop. Great. Has anyone got any questions or comments? I note that we're 3 minutes or 5, so we'll look to finish on time, if colleagues would like, as I'm sure you will like. But any questions or any further inputs? Scott, go ahead.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Prof. Cook, and thank you, Jonas, very much for the presentation, and welcome, hello to everyone on the call. My question is just coming back to the staffing promotion and those criteria for appointments that you were sharing in the document, and criteria for promotion. And I'm very pleased to see there's additional support for teaching, and it looks like just more clarity around what could present and what one would measure on that contribution. And I'd like to ask, though, is there then any adjustment to the weighting of the 3 areas, teaching, research, and service? You mentioned that one should be outstanding and others commendable. I mean, does the increase in the recognition of teaching now have less of a, I don't know what the right word is to say, less of a request to meet those minimum research article requirements? I mean, I think as an educator, and maybe I speak for others, this is just the most difficult area to put time into and to do research and to put out publications. For 10 years I've been at WITS, and I'm still, struggling to get up to my 6 articles so I can be promoted to senior lecturer. And it's just a time. And my teaching is extremely strong. I think my service is quite strong, and it has grown certainly in the last couple of years. But the research is just very challenging. And so I was very excited to hear that teaching was going to be supported more, which maybe thought that then research, would be less if there's more teaching or service. But maybe appreciate a response there. Thank you.
Yeah. So to from my side, and Shira, I mean, I'd please do give your thoughts on this. This is not about reducing the importance of research in any way. So one must be careful to get that balance. But at the same time, I do see your point that it's like contradiction if you're saying that one needs to be, one's giving the opportunity for excellent teachers to be promoted and to be recognized, but at the same time, you're keeping the minimum criteria in place with respect to research. So I can't comment anymore. It's all sort of work in progress. So I don't understand that anymore, but I hope that we can bring this to the attention of the powers that be well higher than my pay grade. Shira, have you got any comment on that?
Yeah, Richard, I think it is the perennial argument in that Staffing and Promotions Committee. And okay. Scott, I hear your pain. In my experience so far, even amazingly excellent teachers will not be promoted if they don't hit the criteria that have been put across the board. So the 6 articles would be great. You could be adjudicated competent in research and outstanding in teaching, and then you'd get the promotion. But until you can hit their minimum criteria, it doesn't matter how outstanding everything else is, because they're waiting for all of the boxes to have something in them. So, Richard, you're right. It's still part of a discussion. And Scott, it's a discussion that I would like to champion enormously. But unless we had a specific teaching track, which universities used to, some universities do have, and WITS actually used to have, and they did away with. So unless we had that, I don't think that you would be able to change those criteria so completely. I think the idea behind changing the criteria is to make teaching more apparent, because I think people like you do a lot of teaching and a lot of energy in curriculum development and things that were not being noticed before. And so hopefully this is a way of showcasing excellence in teaching that will be able to move people forward.
But can I just commit from my side, and I think we're going to take this up, and this is why it's so useful for me personally and to engage collectively on these issues, because then it helps really to crystallize some of these things, Scott and others on the call. And I commit to taking the specific question up, because, you know, on the one side, we've got somebody like, you know, Joel, who's on the call, who has, real competence in the research area and needs to be recognized for that, to be able to take that journey in terms of his own promotion in the field of research. But on the other side, if they're asking us to come with new courses, new programs, new opportunities, new platform development, just expansion in every area of training and teaching. This whole blended learning expertise is really where it's at, for example. Then surely there needs to we don't need to have have to meet the minimum criteria in the other area. I'm going to take it up, and if anyone wants to send me an email on it with so that it's better articulated than I would ever be able to do, then do let me have that from my own department or others for that matter.
So Richard, I know you want to finish on time, but I just wanted to say that Scott, it can be done, because, for example, in the comprehensive universities in the UK, a lot of people got together to say, for example, if you run a training workshop, that is an academic output. and it's an academic output that can sometimes take even more energy and effort than a publication could have. And so in those circumstances, if you can document and they do say what the criteria would be, that is something that could, for example, count against a publication. As compared to, say, our Staffing and Promotions Committee, where if somebody is sitting on 19 and the bottom line is 20, even if their teaching is excellent, it doesn't push them over the bar. So Richard, I think the idea is that what we need to do is to concretize the outputs of teaching and learning, for example, course redesign and that kind of stuff, as countable output. And that should be able to offset some of the criteria elsewhere.
Let's do that, because it's actually, now that I think about it, it's the argument in the SOCOM HOD meeting, for example, is always that clinicians don't get time for research. And it was on that basis of that argument that the adjunct route, the clinical track route came about. But equally so, you can argue that then academics who are so heavily involved in expansion of training platforms, of curricula, of courses, of blended learning, are in exactly the same boat. So let's take that forward, and perhaps we can make this forum the incubator for some of those ideas and some of that advocacy. Brilliant. Colleagues, thank you. It's 17:04. Thanks very much for your attendance and for your involvement today. Yanis, what is next week's theme? What are we starting with? I've forgotten.
So it is 21st century learning design.
Yeah. With Paula and others.
Yes.
So that's going to be fun, because that's Paula Ashton Barnard, and I mean, she just brings a wealth of stuff and experience and just energy to the whole faculty, let alone the particular theme that she's presenting on, 21st century learning. So let's get stuck in next week at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Thanks very much. And if somebody could also just arrange to have much better weather tomorrow, I'd be most grateful. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Go well.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thanks, bye.